The wind screamed against the cabin walls like an angry beast. Snow piled up against the windows, blocking out what little light the winter afternoon had left. Ho sat by the fire, watching the flames dance and pop. He had lived alone in this mountain cabin for 3 years now, and he liked it that way. No people, no questions, no memories of the war that still haunted his sleep. He was a simple man now. He chopped wood. He hunted for food. He fixed things that broke. The colonial settlement of 7 lay 20 miles down the mountain, far enough that nobody bothered him. That was exactly how he wanted it. The knock on his door came so suddenly that Ho jumped. His hand went to the knife on his belt out of old habit. Nobody traveled in weather like this. Nobody should be out here at all. The knock came again, harder this time. Then a voice, weak and desperate, shouting words he could barely hear over the storm. Ho grabbed his rifle and moved to the door. He pulled it open just a crack. The woman on his doorstep was not human. She fell forward into his cabin, bringing a wave of snow and freezing air with her. Ho caught her before she hit the floor. Her skin was silver like polished metal, and it glowed with soft blue light in patterns across her arms and face. She was thin, wearing clothes that were torn and burned in places. Blood, purple blood, stained her side. "Please," she gasped in broken Korean, "please help me." Ho's military training kicked in before his mind could catch up. He dragged her inside and slammed the door shut. The wind howled in protest. He laid her on the floor near the fire and grabbed his medical kit from the shelf. "What happened to you?" he asked, kneeling beside her. She looked up at him with large eyes that seemed to shift color in the firelight. "Blizzard," she said. "Lost in blizzard, please." Ho did not believe her. The wound on her side was not from the cold or the storm. It was a burn, clean and precise. An energy weapon had made that wound. He had seen enough of them during the war to know. But she was bleeding, and she was in his cabin, and he had taken an oath once to help people who needed it, even if those people were not human. "Stay still," he said. He cut away the burned fabric of her clothing and examined the wound. It was deep but not fatal. The burn had sealed most of the bleeding, which was good. He cleaned it with antiseptic and wrapped it with clean bandages. She hissed in pain but did not cry out. As he worked, he studied her. She was. He recognized the species from his military days. They were traders and scholars, peaceful people who traveled between the stars selling goods and knowledge. They had been allies to humanity for 20 years. So what was a woman doing alone on his mountain in the middle of a blizzard, with an energy weapon burn on her side? "What is your name?" Ho asked. She said softly, "I am Ho. You are safe now, but you need to tell me the truth. What really happened to you?" Her eyes went wide with fear. She tried to sit up, but pain made her gasp and fall back. "The storm," she said again. "I was caught in the storm." "That wound is from a weapon," Ho said flatly. "Do not lie to me." Turned her face away. The blue patterns on her skin pulsed faster, brighter. "It was raiders," she said finally. "They attacked my convoy. I ran. I got lost. I saw your light." It was possible. Raiders did operate in the outer colonies, hitting trade ships and stealing cargo. But something about her story felt wrong. Her eyes kept moving to the windows. She flinched at every sound the wind made. "Where is your convoy now?" Ho asked. "Gone," whispered. "They are all gone." Ho stood up and walked to the window. He could see nothing but white. The blizzard had grown worse. Nobody would be traveling tonight, which meant they were both trapped here until the storm passed. He turned back to. She had curled up on her side, hugging herself. The fear in her eyes was real. Whatever had happened to her, she was genuinely terrified. "You can stay until the storm ends," Ho said. "But when it does, you will tell me the truth, all of it." Nodded slowly. "Thank you," she said. "You are kind." "I am not kind," Ho said. "I am practical. You would die out there." He gave her a blanket and a cup of hot tea. She drank it carefully, her hands shaking. The patterns on her skin began to dim as she relaxed. Ho went back to his chair by the fire and watched her. She fell asleep quickly, exhausted from pain and fear. Ho did not sleep. He sat in his chair with his rifle across his lap and watched the door. Hours passed. The wind continued to scream. The fire burned low and Ho added more wood. Outside, the world was nothing but darkness and snow. Around midnight, started to dream. She thrashed and cried out in her own language, words Ho did not understand. He went to her and touched her shoulder gently. "Wake up," he said. "You are safe." Her eyes opened. For a moment she looked at him without recognition. Then she remembered where she was. "Sorry," she said. "Bad dreams." "I understand," Ho said. He understood very well. His own nights were full of bad dreams. "You were soldier," said. "It was not a question." "Yes, how did you know?" "The way you move, the way you watch everything. Soldiers are the same everywhere." Ho nodded slowly. "I was a medic. I saved people during the Frontier War, but I could not save everyone." "That is why you live alone," said. "Yes." They sat in silence for a while. The fire crackled. The wind howled. Two lonely people both running from something, trapped together by the storm. "I am sorry I brought danger to your door," said suddenly. Ho looked at her sharply. "What danger?" But had turned away again. "Nothing," she said. "I am just tired." Ho stood up and walked to his window. He stared out into the darkness, his mind working. Something was very wrong here, was hiding something, something bigger than a raid or attack. He went to the corner where she had collapsed and found her pack. Inside were her personal things, clothes, food tablets, a water purifier. But underneath, wrapped in a thermal blanket, was something that made Ho's blood run cold. A military-grade scanner, maps of human settlements, a data chip marked with military codes. Ho turned to look at. She was still lying by the fire, her eyes closed, her breathing steady. She looked so small and helpless. But appearances could be deceiving. Ho put the items back in the pack exactly as he had found them. He returned to his chair and picked up his rifle. He would wait for morning. He would wait for the storm to end. And then he would get answers. Outside, something moved in the darkness. Ho saw it only for a second, a shadow that did not belong to the storm, a shape that moved with purpose. He watched for a long time, but he saw nothing more. Perhaps it was just his imagination. Perhaps the isolation had finally gotten to him. Or perhaps danger had followed her to his door after all. Ho checked his rifle and made sure it was loaded. Then he settled back in his chair to wait. The long night stretched ahead of them both, and he had a feeling that when morning came, nothing would ever be the same again. Morning came slowly. The storm had not ended, but it had weakened enough that gray light filtered through the windows. Ho had not slept. He sat in his chair, watching and watching the door. Woke with the dawn. She sat up carefully, touching the bandage on her side. The blue patterns on her skin pulsed once, twice, then settled into a steady glow. "How do you feel?" Ho asked. "Better," she said. "Thank you for helping me." "You are welcome." Ho stood and walked to the stove. He began making breakfast, rice porridge with dried meat, simple food but warm and filling. "We need to talk." She looked down at her hands. "Yes. I found the scanner in your pack, and the maps, and the military data chip." Closed her eyes. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am sorry. I should have told you." "Tell me now," Ho said. "Tell me everything." Took a deep breath. "I am not just a trader. I work for intelligence. I study human colonies, learn about your defenses, your strengths and weaknesses. It is my job." Ho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "So you are a spy?" "Yes," said, "but I did not come here to hurt anyone. I came here because I discovered something terrible and I did not know who to trust." "What did you discover?" "A plan. A secret plan by some leaders in my government. They want to attack human colonies. They want to start a war. Ho set down the spoon he was holding. Why would they do that? Fear, said. Humans are growing too strong too fast. Your ships, your weapons, your colonies, they spread across space like wildfire. Some of my people think you will destroy us one day, so they want to strike first. That is insane, Ho said. I know, that is why I stole the evidence. Battle plans, attack schedules, lists of targets, everything I could find. I planned to bring it to human authorities to stop the war before it starts, but they found out what I did. They sent soldiers after me. The energy weapon wound, Ho said. Yes, I escaped, but only barely. I fled to the mountains. I thought if I could reach a human settlement I could warn someone, but the storm came and I got lost and I saw your cabin light. She looked up at him, her strange eyes pleading. I am sorry I lied. I am sorry I brought this danger to you, but please, you must believe me. Thousands of humans will die if we do not stop this. Ho studied her face. He had been a soldier long enough to know when someone was lying and when they were telling the truth, was telling the truth. He could see it in every line of her body, hear it in every word. Where is the data chip now? He asked. Reached into her shirt and pulled out a small silver chip on a chain around her neck. Here, I keep it close. And the soldiers who are after you, how many? A special team. 6 soldiers, maybe more. They are trained killers. They will not stop until they find me. Ho walked to the window and looked out. The storm was dying, but snow still fell. By tomorrow, the sky would be clear, and when it was clear, the soldiers would come. Can you walk? He asked. Yes, I think so. Good. When the storm ends, we need to move. There is a military base 20 miles from here. If we can reach it, you can give them the data chip and the information you have. You will help me? Asked, surprise in her voice. You came to my door asking for help, Ho said simply. I do not turn away people who need help, even if they are spies. For the first time smiled. It was a small smile, sad and grateful at the same time. You are a good man, Ho. I am just doing what is right. They ate breakfast together in silence. The porridge was plain but hot. Ate slowly, testing her injured body. The wounds seemed to be healing well, were tough, Ho remembered. They recovered from injuries faster than humans. After breakfast, Ho began to prepare. He packed supplies, food, water, medical kit, ammunition. He checked his weapons and laid out extra clothes. Watched him work with professional appreciation. You were not just a medic, she said. I was a combat medic, Ho corrected. I had to fight as well as heal. Did you see much action? Too much. Ho did not want to talk about it. He changed the subject. Tell me about these soldiers who are hunting you. What weapons do they have? What tactics do they use? Describe them in detail. They were special forces, trained for stealth and assassination. They used energy rifles and personal shields. They could see in the dark and track targets across great distances. They were, she said, some of the most dangerous soldiers in the galaxy. They sound formidable, Ho said. They are. If they find us, we will die. Maybe, Ho said, or maybe they will be surprised. Humans can be very creative when we need to be. The day passed slowly. The storm continued to die. Ho and talked more, sharing stories. She told him about her, a place of silver cities and blue forests. He told her about Earth, though he had never seen it himself. He was born on 7, a child of the colonies. Why did you become a soldier? Asked. Because my settlement needed defenders, Ho said. The frontier war came to our world. I was 18. I joined up to protect my family. Did you protect them? My parents died in the first attack. My sister survived. She lives in the main settlement now with her children. I visit sometimes, but not often. Why not? Ho was quiet for a long time. Because they look at me and see all the people I could not save. Because I failed my unit. Because 47 soldiers died under my care and I am still here. Reached out and touched his hand gently. You saved 47 others, she said. That is what you should remember. I try, Ho said, but the dead ones stay in my dreams. As evening approached, Ho went to the window again. The snow had almost stopped. The wind was just a whisper now. Tomorrow would be clear. And then he saw them. Shadows moving between the trees. 6 figures spread out in a search pattern. They were still far away, maybe half a mile, but they were coming closer. They moved with purpose, with skill, checking every cabin and shelter as they swept through the forest. Ho said quietly, "They are here." She came to the window and looked out. Her skin flashed bright blue, then dimmed. "No," she whispered. "How did they find me so fast?" "Your scanner," Ho said. "Does it send a signal?" Oh no, I was so stupid. It has a tracking beacon. I forgot to disable it." Ho cursed. "How long until they reach us?" "Maybe 1 hour, maybe less." Ho's mind raced. 1 hour was not enough time to run. The soldiers would track them easily in the snow, and even if they could run, was still injured. She would slow them down. Which meant they had to fight. "Listen to me carefully," Ho said. "I have a plan, but you must do exactly as I say. Can you do that?" Nodded, fear and trust mixing in her eyes. "Good," Ho said. He began moving through the cabin, gathering things, setting things up. "Then let us show these soldiers what happens when they threaten a human's home." Outside, the shadows moved closer. Inside, Ho prepared for war. The cabin became a fortress. The man who wanted peace had to become a soldier again. But this time, he told himself, he would not fail. This time, he would save the person who needed him. He looked at who was watching him with hope in her alien eyes. "Trust me," he said. "I do," she replied. The long night was about to begin, and neither of them knew if they would see another dawn. But they would face it together, a human and an alien, 2 broken souls standing against the darkness. The soldiers were coming. Ho was ready. Ho worked fast. Years of military training came back to him like muscle memory. He moved through the cabin with purpose, turning his simple home into a battlefield. First, he pushed his heavy table against the door and nailed it in place. Then he covered the windows with thick wooden shutters he had made for winter storms. He left small gaps to see and shoot through. He scattered his tools and supplies around the room, things he could use as weapons if needed. "Help me with this," he told. Together they moved his stored firewood to create barriers inside the cabin. They made small walls to hide behind, narrow corridors that would slow down attackers. "You have done this before," said. "Too many times," Ho replied. He took out all his weapons, a hunting rifle with a scope, a shotgun, a pistol, an old combat knife from his military days. Not much against 6 trained soldiers with energy weapons and shields, but it would have to do. "Can you shoot?" he asked. "Not well," she admitted. "Then you stay low and stay quiet. If they break through, you run out the back and head down the mountain. Do not wait for me." "I will not leave you," said firmly. "You have to. That data chip is more important than both of us. Thousands of lives depend on it." Touched the chain around her neck. "I understand." Ho went to his radio and tried to call for help. Static crackled. The storm had damaged the antenna. He switched to emergency frequency and sent out a distress signal, repeating it over and over. If anyone heard it, help might come, but it would not come in time. They would have to survive on their own. Darkness fell quickly. Ho turned off all the lights and let the fire die down to embers. He sat behind the woodpile barrier, waiting. Skin provided a faint glow, so Ho gave her a thick coat to cover it. "How will they attack?" whispered. "They will try to surround us first," Ho said. "Then they will call for us to surrender. When we refuse, they will try to breach the cabin. They will be careful at first because they do not know what they are facing. That gives us an advantage." "What advantage? They have better weapons." Yes, but I know this land, I know this cabin, and I know something they do not. What? Humans do not surrender easily. 30 minutes later, a voice called out from the darkness. It spoke in, but Ho understood enough of the language from his military days. We know you are in there, come out peacefully. No one needs to die tonight. Ho looked at, she shook her head firmly. He called back in Korean, she is under my protection, go away. There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again, this time in broken Korean. Human, this is not your fight, give us the traitor and you will live. We promise no harm to you. I have heard many promises in my life, Ho shouted. Most of them were lies, the answer is no. Another pause, longer this time. Ho could imagine the soldiers talking among themselves, deciding what to do. A stubborn human was not part of their plan. Last chance, human, step away and live. Come take her then, Ho challenged, if you think you can. He heard movement outside, shadows shifted, the soldiers were taking positions. Ho had expected this, he had prepared for it. The first soldier tried to approach from the front. Ho saw him through the window gap, moving carefully through the snow. When the soldier was 15 feet away, Ho fired a single shot. The bullet sparked off the soldier's shield and the soldier dove for cover. Shields, Ho muttered, that makes it harder. But not impossible. Shields could stop energy weapons and bullets, but they had limits. They could not cover every angle at once, and they used power, which meant they would not last forever. 2 more soldiers tried to circle around to the sides. Ho heard them moving through the snow. He grabbed homemade noisemakers, cans filled with rocks, and threw them out the side windows. The cans landed in the snow with loud crashes. The soldiers stopped, uncertain if they had triggered traps. Good, Ho whispered to himself, stay nervous. The attack came from 3 directions at once. The soldiers coordinated, trying to overwhelm him with multiple threats. Energy blasts hit the cabin walls, burning through wood and filling the air with smoke. Ho moved between positions, firing from one window, then another, keeping them guessing. A soldier broke from cover and rushed the door. Ho shot twice. The first bullet hit the shield. The second one found the gap between the shield and the soldier's leg. The soldier screamed and fell. 1 down, Ho said, 5 to go. But the soldiers learned fast. They stopped rushing. Instead, they began a systematic assault, using covering fire to keep Ho's head down while they advanced slowly. Energy blasts tore through the cabin walls. The shutters began to burn. They are getting closer, said, fear in her voice. Let them come, Ho said grimly. He had prepared surprises. When 2 soldiers reached the west wall, they triggered a trap, boards rigged to fall, followed by heavy pots that crashed down from above. 1 soldier dodged. The other took a cooking pot to the head and collapsed. 2 down, Ho counted. But his ammunition was running low. He had maybe 20 bullets left. Against 4 soldiers with shields and energy weapons, that was not enough. The cabin was burning now in several places. Smoke filled the air. Ho's eyes watered, coughed behind him. They were running out of time. Ho said, get ready to run. No, she said stubbornly. A soldier appeared at the window, trying to climb through. Ho did not have time to aim properly. He threw his knife instead. It struck the soldier in the shoulder, and the soldier fell back with a cry. 3 left, but 1 was injured. Then the front door exploded inward. A soldier had used an explosive charge. The table Ho had braced against it flew across the room. Smoke and splinters filled the air. A figure stepped through the doorway, energy rifle raised. Ho fired his shotgun from behind the woodpile. The spread caught the soldier across the chest, overwhelming the shield. The soldier went down hard. But 2 more soldiers came right behind, and Ho's shotgun was empty. He dropped it and grabbed his pistol. He fired as he moved, forcing the soldiers to take cover. He dove behind his bed and rolled. Energy blasts tore through the bed, melting fabric and wood. Heat washed over Ho. He could feel his skin burning. He fired back blindly, trying to keep them occupied. One soldier moved to flank him. Ho saw the movement from the corner of his eye. He turned and fired, but his pistol clicked empty. No bullets left. The soldier raised his rifle, smiling behind his helmet. "End of the line, human." Then screamed. She jumped from her hiding place and threw herself at the soldier. Her small body hit him hard, knocking his aim off. The energy blast went wide, hitting the ceiling. They struggled. The soldier was stronger but fought with desperate fury. She clawed at his face, her hands glowing bright blue. Where she touched him, the soldier's skin burned. He screamed and threw her off. Ho used the distraction. He grabbed his combat knife from where it had fallen and charged. The last soldier tried to turn, but too slow. Ho drove the blade into the gap between the soldier's helmet and armor. The soldier collapsed. Silence fell. Ho stood in the wreckage of his cabin, breathing hard. Bodies lay around him. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned in 3 corners. Everything he owned was destroyed. But they were alive. Stumbled to his side. "Are you hurt?" "I will live, you." "The same." They stared at each other, covered in ash and blood, survivors of a battle that should have killed them. Then started to laugh. It was a strange sound, half hysterical, half relieved. "You were right," she said. "Humans do not surrender easily." "No," Ho agreed, "we do not." But the battle was not over. Outside, Ho heard a sound that made his blood freeze. More footsteps, more soldiers coming. The first team had called for backup before the attack. Ho checked his weapons. Everything was empty or broken. He had nothing left to fight with. "We have to run," he said. They grabbed what supplies they could carry and fled out the back door. Behind them, the cabin burned, a beacon in the darkness. Ahead of them lay cold mountains and uncertain hope. The hunt had just begun. The mountain was dark and cold. Hoenn ran through deep snow, their breath making white clouds in the freezing air. Behind them, lights flickered through the trees. The soldiers were following. Ho's wound burned. During the fight, an energy blast had grazed his arm. The burn was not deep, but it hurt with every movement, was limping again. Her earlier injury had reopened. Purple blood stained the snow behind them. "We are leaving a trail," gasped. "I know," Ho said. "Keep moving." They pushed through the forest, sliding down slopes, climbing over fallen trees. The mountain that had been Ho's peaceful home was now a battlefield. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every sound could be danger. After an hour of running, they reached a small cave Ho knew. He pulled inside. They collapsed against the cold stone, gasping for air. "How far to the base?" asked. 15 miles, maybe more." "Can we make it?" Ho looked at their condition. Both wounded, exhausted, no weapons, no supplies, soldiers hunting them. The honest answer was no, they probably could not make it. But Ho had learned long ago that survival was not about what was probable. It was about what was possible. "Yes," he said, "we can make it." He tore strips from his shirt and Rap's wound. Then he did the same for his own burn. It was not proper medical care, but it would slow the bleeding. "Why are you doing this?" asked suddenly. "You could have given me to them. You could have lived peacefully." "That would not be peace," Ho said. "That would be cowardice." "But I am just one alien. I am nobody." "You are somebody who needs help," Ho said simply. "That makes you important." His eyes filled with tears. In her culture, crying was a sign of deep emotion. She touched Ho's face gently. "Your people are strange. You value individual lives more than logic or survival." "Is that bad?" "No," said softly. "It is beautiful, and it terrifies my leaders. They do not understand how a species that cares so much about individuals can be so dangerous. But I understand now. You fight harder because each life matters." "Yes," Ho said. "Now rest for a few minutes, then we move again." But they did not get a few minutes. Lights appeared at the cave entrance. 3 soldiers, their shields glowing in the darkness. The commander stepped forward. His armor was decorated with marks of rank. "Impressive human," the commander said in perfect Korean. "You killed 5 of my best soldiers. That is quite an achievement for one man." Ho stood up slowly, putting himself between and the soldiers. He had no weapons, nothing but his body and his will. "I will kill 3 more if you come closer," Ho said. The commander laughed. "With what? You have no weapons, you are wounded, the traitor behind you can barely stand. This is over." "It is never over," Ho said. "Not until I am dead." "That can be arranged." The commander raised his energy rifle. Ho prepared to charge. It was suicide, but at least might have a chance to escape while the soldiers were shooting him. It was not much of a plan, but it was all he had. Then the world exploded with light and sound. Roared overhead, their engines shaking the trees. Spotlights lit up the forest like daylight. Ropes dropped from the ships, and soldiers in human combat armor slid down fast. The commander spun around in shock. "What?" A human voice boomed from a loudspeaker. "This is Colonial Defense Force. Drop your weapons immediately." 20 human soldiers surrounded the cave in seconds. They wore combat armor and carried pulse rifles. Their movements were sharp and professional. The soldiers were outnumbered 5 to 1. The commander looked at his soldiers, then at the human forces. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. "Stand down," he ordered his troops. A tall human officer approached the cave. He was middle-aged with gray hair and stern eyes. He looked at Ho with a mixture of concern and respect. "Ho," the officer said, "you look terrible." "Commander Jin," Ho replied, "I have looked better." Jin smiled. He was Ho's old commanding officer from the war. They had served together for 3 years, saved each other's lives more than once. When Ho had left the military, Jin had understood, but he had told Ho that if he ever needed anything at all, just call. "Your distress signal came through," Jin said. "It took us a while to get here because of the storm. Looks like we almost arrived too late." "Almost only counts in explosives," Ho said. It was an old military saying. "True," Jin looked past Ho too. "And this must be the VIP who is causing all this trouble." Stepped forward, standing straight despite her pain. I have information about a planned attack on human colonies. I request asylum and protection." "Granted," Jin said immediately. "We have been tracking military movements for weeks. We knew something was happening, but not what. Your information will save lives." The commander stepped forward, his hands raised but his voice angry. "She is a traitor to her people. She stole classified information. You must return her to us for trial." "No," Jin said flatly. "She is requesting asylum on human soil. Under colonial law, she is now under our protection. This will cause a diplomatic incident." "There is already going to be an incident," Jin said coldly. "Your government sent a military team to attack a human citizen on human territory. That is an act of war. The only reason I am not arresting all of you right now is because we need to verify information first." "You have no proof." "We have 6 dead soldiers in a burned cabin," Jin interrupted. "We have you and your team caught in the act of attempted murder, and we have whatever information brought with her. That seems like plenty of proof to me." The commander's face darkened with rage, but he said nothing. What could he say? He had been caught. Medics came forward to treat Ho, and they cleaned wounds, gave injections for pain and infection. Ho finally allowed himself to relax. It was over. They had survived. Jin sat down beside Ho while the medics worked. "You know," Jin said, "when you retired and moved to that cabin, I thought you wanted peace and quiet." "I did," Ho said. "So naturally, you got involved in an interstellar conspiracy and fought off a team of elite alien commandos." "It just happened." Jin laughed. "With you, things always just happen. You could not have a simple retirement like normal people. Normal is boring. Fair point. Jin's expression turned serious. What you did tonight was insane, you know. One man against 6 trained soldiers. You should have died. But I did not. No, you did not. Because you are the most stubborn man I have ever met. And because you remember what we taught you, use your environment, stay unpredictable, and never give up. You taught me more than that, Ho said quietly. You taught me that we do not abandon people who need help, that every life matters, that honor means something. I taught you well then, Jin said. They sat in comfortable silence while the medics finished their work. Around them, human soldiers secured the area. The soldiers were disarmed and placed under guard, prepared for departure. Came over to Ho. The medics had given her something for the pain. The blue patterns on her skin glowed steadily now, no longer pulsing with fear. Thank you, she said. You saved my life. We saved each other, Ho corrected. Still, I will never forget what you did, what your people did. Just remember it when you tell your government about humans, Ho said. Remember that we could have turned you away. We could have refused to help, but we did not. That is who we are. I will remember, promised. I will tell everyone. Jin stood up. Time to go. Ho, you are coming back to the base for proper medical treatment. You are coming too. We have a lot to discuss. What about my cabin? Ho asked. Sorry, friend, your cabin is gone, burned to the ground. Ho thought about his simple home, his peaceful life in the mountains. All gone now. Destroyed because he had opened his door to someone who needed help. He looked alive because of his choice. He thought about the thousands of humans who would live because she had brought her warning. It was worth it, Ho said. They boarded As it lifted into the sky, Ho looked down at the mountain one last time. He could see the remains of his cabin still burning, the end of one life. But maybe, he thought, the beginning of another. 2 weeks later, Ho sat in a hospital bed at the Colonial Defense Force base. His arm was wrapped in regeneration bandages. The doctors said he would heal completely in another week. Modern medicine was good at fixing bodies. Fixing minds was harder, but Ho was working on that too. The room had a window that looked out over the settlement. Ho watched people going about their daily lives, unaware of how close they had come to war. That was good. People deserved to live without fear. Commander Jin visited every day. Today he brought news. The government has issued a formal apology, Jin said, sitting in the chair beside the bed. The attack has been stopped. The conspirators have been arrested. Trade relations will continue. That is good, Ho said. More than good, it is amazing. This information was complete and detailed. She gave us dates, targets, ship movements, everything. Our diplomats took it to the High Council. When they saw the evidence, they had no choice but to act. So there will be no war. No war. Thousands of lives saved because one alien woman decided to do the right thing, and because one stubborn medic refused to turn her away. Ho shrugged. I just did what anyone would do. No, Jin said firmly. Most people would have closed the door. They would have been afraid or suspicious or simply unwilling to risk their safety for a stranger. But you did not. That is what makes you special. That is what makes humanity special. We are not that special, Ho protested. You keep saying that, but the galaxy thinks differently. Do you know what the ambassador said when he delivered the apology? He said, "We underestimated humans. We thought your compassion was weakness. Now we understand it is your greatest strength." Ho thought about that. He had never considered compassion to be a strength. It had always seemed like a burden, a vulnerability. But maybe there was truth in what the ambassador said. Maybe caring about others, even when it was hard, was what made humans dangerous opponents and valuable friends. How is Ho asked. See for yourself, Jin said, smiling. He stood and opened the door. Entered looking much healthier than the last time Ho had seen her. Her wounds had healed. The blue patterns on her skin glowed with a calm, steady light. "Hello, Ho," she said. "Hello, you look well." "I feel well. Your doctors are very skilled." She sat in the chair Jin had vacated. The commander left quietly, giving them privacy. "I came to say thank you again," said, "and to say goodbye." Ho felt a strange disappointment. "You are leaving." "Not leaving, staying. The human government has given me asylum. I will live here on 7. I will work as a liaison between our peoples, helping to build better understanding." "That is good news, so why the goodbye?" "Because I am saying goodbye to the frightened refugee who knocked on your door. That person is gone. I am different now, stronger, braver, because of what you taught me." "I did not teach you anything." "You taught me everything," said softly. "You taught me that honor is not just following orders. It is choosing what is right, even when it is hard. You taught me that one person can make a difference. You taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing what must be done despite the fear." She reached out and took his hand. Her silver skin was cool against his. "My people have a saying," continued. "When someone saves your life, you owe them a debt that can never be fully repaid, but you can try. So I will spend my life trying, Ho. I will work to make sure humans and never fight. I will tell everyone about the human who risked everything for a stranger. I will make sure your story is remembered." "I do not need to be remembered," Ho said. "I just want to live quietly." Smiled. "You say that, but I know you better now. You cannot live quietly. It is not in your nature. You will find more people who need help. You will put yourself in danger again, because that is who you are." Maybe she was right. Ho had thought he wanted isolation, but the past 2 weeks had reminded him of something important. He was a medic, a protector. That was his purpose. Running from it had not brought him peace. "What will you do when you leave the hospital?" asked. "I do not know. My cabin is gone. I have nowhere to go." "Come work with me," said. "The liaison office needs people who understand both humans and aliens. People with military experience and medical training. People who believe in doing what is right. That sounds like you." Ho considered it. A new job, a new purpose. A chance to help people again, but without the weight of war on his shoulders. "I will think about it," he said. "Good, I hope you say yes. I think we make a good team." She stood to leave but paused at the door. "Oh, I almost forgot. Your sister came by yesterday, Youngmi. She wanted to see you, but you were sleeping. She said she will come back today." Youngmi came here. Ho was surprised. He had not seen his sister in months. "Yes, she was very worried about you. She said she heard about what happened and needed to know you were okay. She seems like a kind person." After left, Ho sat alone with his thoughts. He had spent 3 years running from his family, from his past, from his pain. He had thought isolation would heal him, but he had been wrong. Healing came from connection, from helping others, from being part of something bigger than yourself. The door opened again. Youngmi entered, and with her came 2 children, Ho's niece and nephew. He had not seen them in over a year. They had grown so much. "Brother," Youngmi said, her voice thick with emotion. She rushed to his bed and hugged him carefully, mindful of his injuries. "When I heard what happened, I thought I had lost you." "I am hard to kill," Ho said, hugging her back. "Apparently." She pulled back and looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Why did you not call me? Why did you stay away so long?" "I thought you would be better off without me." "Better off? You are my brother, we are family. Nothing is better than family." The children came forward shyly. The boy, who was 8, looked at Ho with wide eyes. "Uncle Ho, is it true you fought alien soldiers?" "It is true," Ho admitted. "That is so cool. You are a hero." "I am not a hero. I just did what needed to be done." "That is what heroes always say," the little girl added wisely. She was 6 and apparently already very smart. Youngmi sat on the edge of the bed. "Come home, Ho, not to the mountain. Come to the settlement, live near us. Let your family back into your life." Ho looked at his sister, at her children, at the love in their eyes. He thought about and her offer. He thought about all the people who had helped him. Jin, the soldiers who came to his rescue, the doctors who healed him. He had been so focused on the people he had failed to save that he had forgotten about the people he had saved. He had forgotten about the people who cared about him. He had forgotten that he was not alone. "Yes," Ho said, "I will come home." Youngmi smiled, and it was like the sun coming out after a storm. 3 months later, Ho stood outside a new building in the settlement center. The sign read, "Human Liaison Office." Stood beside him, looking at the sign with satisfaction. "Ready for your first day?" she asked. "As ready as I will ever be." They entered together. The office was small but comfortable. Desks, computers, communication equipment. A place where two species could work together to build a better future. Ho had a new job now. He helped visitors understand human culture. He assisted with trade negotiations. He taught first aid classes to both humans and aliens. It was not the quiet life he had imagined, but it was a good life, a meaningful life. And on weekends, he visited Youngmi and played with his niece and nephew. He was part of a family again, part of a community. Sometimes he thought about his cabin on the mountain. He missed the quiet and the solitude, but he did not regret what he had done. He had opened his door to someone who needed help, and that choice had changed everything. One evening, stayed late at the office. She and Ho sat drinking tea and talking about the day's work. "Do you ever regret it?" asked suddenly. "Your cabin burned down, your peaceful life ended, all because you helped me." Ho thought carefully before answering. "No," he said finally. "I do not regret it. That cabin was not peace. It was hiding. You helped me understand that." "How?" "You reminded me why I became a medic. Not to run from death, but to fight for life. Every life. Even the life of an alien stranger in a storm." Smiled. "You humans are strange creatures. You would rather die with honor than live with regret." "Is that bad?" "No," said. "It is what makes you beautiful and terrifying. My people understand now why humans are so dangerous. It is not your weapons or your technology, it is your spirit. You refuse to give up. You refuse to abandon your principles. You refuse to turn away from people who need help, even when helping them puts you in danger. That just seems like basic decency to me." "That is what makes it powerful," said. "You do not even realize how special you are." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the settlement. Two people from different worlds brought together by chance and choice, building something new. Ho thought about the title that journalists had given him, the Guardian of the Mountain. He did not feel like a guardian. He felt like a man who had done what needed to be done. But maybe that was what guardians were. Just ordinary people who made the extraordinary choice to help when help was needed. Outside, the settlement lights began to glow. Humans and walked the streets together, trading, talking, living in peace. It was not perfect. There were still problems, still misunderstandings, still people on both sides who did not trust. But it was better than war, better than fear, better than turning away from each other. And it had all started with one alien woman fleeing to a cabin in a blizzard, one human man opening his door, one choice to help instead of hide. Sometimes, Ho realized, the smallest choices created the biggest changes. One act of compassion had stopped a war. One stubborn refusal to abandon someone in need had changed the relationship between two species. He looked at his friend and colleague. She looked back and smiled. They did not need words. They understood each other perfectly. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems, new opportunities. But they would face them together, human and, proving every day that differences could be bridges instead of walls. Ho stood and stretched. "Time to go home," he said. "Yes," agreed, "time to go home." They left the office together, walking into the evening. Behind them, the light stayed on, a symbol of hope in the darkness. The story that had begun with fear and flight had ended with friendship and peace. And in a galaxy full of stars and species, that was the most human thing of all.